City have won the title and the Champions League places are taking shape too. One thing's for sure, Arsenal again will not be there. And yet somehow they remain one of, if not the, most intriguing stories of the season. The Gunner revolution is almost complete. New players, new recruitment system, new-ish stadium, but now they need a new plan on the pitch. That looks like the missing piece as we go in depth on the still buffering Gunner revolution. However, as an Arsenal fan, I'm kind of biased on this, so I got two extra hands in on this story. Firstly, Deezer's Rob Armstrong.
Hey Ollie, how you doing?
And playing the role of smarmy United fan, it's DW and Onefootball's Max Merrill.
Hey, how's it going, Ollie?
Those guys will be back with us shortly, because if we want to prove our point that Arsenal are just one move away from completing a four-part revolution, we need to agree that the first three pieces are in place. All right, let's start with the easy part, shall we, guys? The Emirates has been built and mostly paid for. It holds 60,000 people, it's given the club a state-of-the-art home and matchday revenues to compete financially. Hasn't it, Max?
Yeah, they have a big, nice stadium that, puts them up there with the best in England at the very least. But I've got to say, the big promise with the stadium was the big transfer fees that they would be able to pay and compete with the big clubs. So a lot of fans, I think, they're a bit disappointed with that.
Yeah, some broken promises, I have to agree, Max. Rob, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think the fans might disagree that it's been a great move. I don't think Emirates is particularly renowned for a great atmosphere or a sort of die-hard fans experience, but from a business point of view, it's got everything you need, and all the big clubs need a big stadium, and they've got one now, as unpopular as it might be.
So no one really likes it, including some Arsenal fans, but the Emirates is there and it does give the club big revenues. Now we're on to the new players. Arsenal lost sulky superstar Alexis Sanchez, along with a couple of fringe players in the winter window, but they replaced them with some serious talent in the form of Pierre-Emerick and Henrik Mkhitaryan. They also got Mesut Ozil signed up to a new contract. There's still more work to do, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I'm convinced the new signings will improve the team for next season. But what do the boys think? Have Arsenal improved in the short to medium term compared to where they were in December?
Yeah, I think they had a really good transfer window. Good signings for them. Mkhitaryan suits their play. Aubameyang maybe not quite suits the play. He's more of a counter-attacking player, but a real class player. The only black mark is losing Giroud to a direct rival, I think. But other than that, a good signing.
They still don't have the defensive midfielder though, and I think that's the big thing that Arsenal fans have wanted since Vieira left. Who was their last one? Like Gilberto Silva or something. So yeah, they have improved. It's mad to say that they haven't. That's two brilliant players.
Yeah, they're definitely the type of player that Arsenal want to be attracting. I think losing Sanchez and Giroud, though, does kind of weigh in the other direction a little bit, but generally speaking, two good signings.
All right, so that's roughly a yes on the new players to go with the yes on the new stadium. But as we all said, there's still work to do on that squad. So what about the recruiting system? Arsenal have always been very proud of bringing young players through, but it hasn't been such a successful system lately. Too many players are stalling once they get to the first team. Now the Gunners have got Sven Mislintat lining up the targets and building a setup to make the club a genuine talent factory. And since Arsenal have all that juicy Emirates money to let him play with, expectations are high. We'll start with Max. Are you buying that this is genuine change in the way Arsenal do business? And is it change for good?
I think Mislintat joining was really key for Arsenal because in recent years, Wenger has signed a lot of young players, but he hasn't been doing what he used to do, really develop them and take them on. So maybe his eye for top talents has gotten a little bit worse with age. So Mislintat, beyond the Wenger reign, is a really important signing for Arsenal.
I think many people feel that Wenger's almost too autocratic. He doesn't let anyone else have any kind of fingers in any pies. He wants to control everything, and as we've seen, that hasn't bred a lot of success over the last few years. So what, there is the stadium move, there is the money thing. They, until the last couple of years, maybe haven't spent as much as a lot of the rivals, but ultimately that comes down to the manager. He's had enough to keep succeeding, and he hasn't. So Mislintat has spotted some great talents for Dortmund. He's already got a couple of his old Dortmund boys in. I think he's clearly got a diamond eye for it.
Oh no. Moving on as swiftly as possible, we have some consensus then that 3 of the 4 legs are already in place: stadium, players and recruitment system. Now we get to the hard part, the plan. And let's not arse about here, we are talking about a new coach to give the club that new plan. Arsene Wenger is Arsenal's most successful ever manager and a legend of English football. The Emirates is the house that Arsene built, and some of the club's greatest ever achievements and simply their most entertaining football are down to him. But those days are long gone. He just doesn't have it in the tank anymore to win this team a league title. And as for the ultimate trophy, the Champions League, well, you actually have to be in it to win it. So gents, we've got a stadium, a good team, and a setup built on future success. Is replacing Wenger really the final piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, he is probably past his sell-by date a little bit, and he's so integral to the sort of DNA of the club, and there is something seriously wrong with the DNA of Arsenal. They are kind of perennial losers now, but that's not to say that he hasn't done a great job.
Well, I mean, in terms of Wenger's reign and getting rid of Wenger, as a United fan, I can just say be careful what you wish for. When Fergie left, it took a long time. It took us really until this season or last season, however way you want to look at it, to recover. So yes, Wenger is getting on a bit, but they'd have to get a really, really good replacement in to continue playing at the level that they are.
I take your point, Max, but we have to remember that Fergie left United with a league title. If Wenger goes this summer, he's probably leaving them in 6th place, so we may have a different set of expectations between the two fan bases. But in any case, we have to ask, will this ever actually happen? I think even Arsene Wenger has to realise at some point that he's just not a top-level manager anymore. But if he doesn't, what has to change politically for the board to pull the trigger?
I think they look at it from a very different angle. They look at the fact that Arsenal have been making money as a business, that they're a stable club in terms of the wage bill specifically. Also, I mean, obviously, Ozil is now the exception, but generally speaking, he's a CEO's dream because the money keeps going in. The money going out is relatively minimal for a top 4 side, top 4, top 6 side. So I think the board, are really quite keen on keeping him.
All right, I get the feeling you think it's the latter. So basically, Max, what we're saying is it's all about the money.
I feel as though a more attached owner or chairman would have got rid of him by now. But it must be clear. It must be clear to them, because the amount of protests they've had and the amount of media coverage it gets, so much is made of Arsenal really needing to make a move and be a little bit more ambitious. If they don't know it, they're completely clueless. But whether it's clueless or just choosing to be ignorant because he doesn't really care and cares more about the cash, I suppose that's the question.
For them, there's no rush to sack him because money-wise, everything's stable at Arsenal. Also, though, a replacement, I think the same with Man United when Fergie left. It's so hard to pick a replacement after such a long reign of having one person in charge. They might have to go through 1 or 2 managerial changes until they find the right fit.
But what about Wenger's own issues? He seems almost scared of stepping away. Is there a solution to that, Rob?
The Arsene Wenger being terrified of retirement thing. Does he? I guess there must be a role for him somewhere in the club that isn't managerial, but I don't know if he's too proud to take it.
So we think greedy, disinterested Stan Kroenke is a big problem here. But let's say, just for the sake of an argument, that he gains a sudden affinity with Arsenal fans. Who's the man to replace Wenger?
I think someone that's a bit of an arsehole would be ideal. A couple of years with Simeone, I think, would be peachy for Arsenal, because no one else in the world, I don't think at the moment, it's from a managerial point of view, is better at making players evil. Atletico have basically got to Champions League finals, won a La Liga by being a bit evil and a bit of flair with your sort of Griezmanns and Saúl and players like that, and Carrasco, combined with a bit of the devil, your sort of Godins of the world. It's a perfect combo, and Arsenal haven't been able to have it. They haven't had anyone that's got that right amount of kind of nastiness in them.
All right, I like the sound of evil. Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Simeone's a great manager, don't get me wrong. I don't know, I mean, would Arsenal still be playing the Arsenal way, or the Arsene Wenger way? They might be playing like they used to before Wenger came, when the common chant at Arsenal games was boring, boring Arsenal. They used to grind out loads of 1-0 wins and have a really tight defence. So maybe if Simeone came, that would be a return to those kind of days.
But hang on, Max, because I think that's basically what you mean, Rob, isn't it? Someone to give Arsenal a bit of edge back, someone to make Arsenal nasty again.
They have players that kind of lack discipline, but that's a very different kettle of fish. You got Xhaka, who, yeah, can do a nasty tackle, but at the same time doesn't have the kind of discipline. So it's that leadership thing, and I think Simeone breeds players that will have that.
Yeah, Simeone at Arsenal is definitely something that I've daydreamed about. Just someone to come in and give the players a bit of a kick up the arse, get the defence organised, sort out the mentality, and just change the conversation around the club. Max, you didn't seem so convinced, so who would you go for if not El Cholo?
Well, I think an ideal candidate would be Mauricio Pochettino, but he's never going to do that. He's already ruled out ever managing Arsenal or Barcelona because of his previous clubs. Tuchel is a name that's come up a little bit in the past. He's a prickly character, but I think generally speaking would be sort of in the right direction. Nagelsmann as well. There's a lot of young managers, specifically in Germany actually, who are doing really well and looking really good and in that Arsenal mould. And I think if Arsene Wenger stays at the club, maybe on the board or something, that would be quite a good way for him to help a young manager transition into managing a Premier League club.
Yeah, Germany is ever producing a string of talented coaches, eh? Summing up then, Wenger, from what we've all said, is the final piece in the jigsaw. I think Arsenal need to find themselves a coach who can tactically put them on the same level as the biggest clubs in the world to match the huge finances and modern talent scouting system that they already have in place. Whether that coach is arsehole bastard Diego Simeone or someone off Germany's production line, a change would do Arsenal good. I think even if it does take a few years and a couple of coaches for Arsenal to sort themselves out, at least it would break the current cycle of, as Rob put it, being perennial losers. Right, I think we've got everything covered, even if it did hurt a bit at times. Max, Rob, thanks a lot for your thoughts.
Cheers, Ollie. See you soon.
And don't forget to tell us what you think. See you later.